Immortal cultivation+zombies+zombies+black bellies+villains+decisive killing+no female lead+invincible, wild boar knight Li Ningye. Traveling through the world of cultivation, I unexpectedly discovered that I was carrying a zombie virus. Zombie cultivation, zombie evolution. See how Li Ningye leads his army of zombies to sweep across the sky and ascend to the top of the corpse path. Chapter 1. Wild Boar Knight Li Ningye. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The sky was pitch black, with dark clouds densely covering the ground. Scattered locust trees grew on the ground, and countless zombies wandered aimlessly in it. Among them, a white-eyed zombie was riding on a wild boar, holding a hyene wooden stick in its left hand and a jackdaw in its right hand, crazily sucking blood. It's really unpleasant to drink, a sour smell. The zombie had a disdainful expression on its face, but it seemed to have thought of something and still recognized it by pinching its nose. Li Ningye, he has been in this world for 3 years. He came from an apocalyptic outbreak before his death, and after the outbreak, he hid for several months, but ultimately did not escape the fate of becoming a zombie. At the moment when he lost consciousness, Li Ning came to this world at night. When Li Ningye first arrived, he was as confused as the zombie beside him. It wasn't until a year ago that he accidentally bit on the butt of a wild boar and completely woke up. Others' time travel is all about systems and golden fingers, what about me? He looked helplessly at the wild boar under his crotch and grabbed his tail. That's right, this is the wild boar he chewed on. Ah, perhaps my only golden finger is like a normal person, able to walk and speak normally. Li Ningye murmured to himself, then he plucked the hair off his body and gestured his middle finger towards the sky, letting out a helpless sigh. Drive, hum, let's go back. Li Ning's cheerful voice echoed on the island at night. He hasn't seen a living person on this island in the past year, and can only talk to the wild boar to himself every day. Having nothing to do, I gave the wild boar a handsome name. Humph. Li Ningye pointed his wooden stick towards the distance, humming and running towards it. Slow down, ha ha ha. At this moment, an arc flew rapidly over him. Senior brother Lin, look at a zombie riding a pig running over there. One of the figures exclaimed in shock. So strange. Master just asked us to catch a few white and green zombies and go back to form a formation. Let's go down and take a look. Immediately, the ark stopped above Li Ningye, and several black-robed men stopped in front of Li Ningye. A person who can fly. Cultivating immortals. What am I? A vampire monster that everyone shouts to fight against. Li Ningye saw the people in front of her and felt a surge of excitement in her heart, but on the surface, she still pretended to be confused. He looks like a fool, even inside zombies, he is still the kind of fool. Senior brother Lin, there's nothing special about this white stiff. The task is urgent, it's him alone. We still need to catch a green zombie. Upon hearing senior brother Lin's words, one of the black-robed men with one hand tied a seal and shot a yellow talisman across the air at Li Ningye. Li Ningye pretended to be under control and remained motionless. Senior brother, this corpse control talisman is really useful, but this white zombie is still riding on a pig and looking strange. The corpse control talisman can only control the lowest level of white zombies, and above the white zombies, spells such as corpse refining must be used. It's also strange. Apart from zombies, there are only scattered jackdaws on this corpse island. Have you ever heard of any wild beasts? Senior brother Lin said in confusion, forget it, let him come down first. Upon hearing brother Lin's words, the black-robed man quickly turned to Jia Li Ning and tried to control his body. After hearing this, Li Ningye's mind moved and he pretended to be under control, quickly jumping off the wild boar and kicking it. The wild boar snorted twice and then wandered slowly towards the back. Senior brother Lin gave a faint glance but didn't pay attention. Let's go to the Ashy Malaria Forest, he said to the east of Corpse Island, there is a grey miasma forest. Li Ningye followed several disciples of the 5-yin sect and jumped towards the grey mosquito forest, gaining a preliminary understanding of this realm through their casual conversations. It turned out that he had already traveled to another world, which was full of immortal sects, just like the world in the cultivation novels that Li Ning read in his previous life. The realm of this realm is divided into Qi refining, purple mansion, golden elixir, Yuanying, Xinxiang. Corresponding to the white zombie, green zombie, flying zombie, Kuei, Ba. Before entering the purple mansion realm, each realm was divided into 9 levels. Zombies, on the other hand, correspond to the 9 layers of each realm based on the length of their body fur before the green zombie. Li Ning's 1-inch long night hair is called a layer of white stiffness, corresponding to the cultivation of a cultivator's qi. And this place is located in the western part of Xianzhou, adjacent to the border of Heidi Kingdom. There is 1 sect and 2 sects in the demon way of Di Kingdom. Jiuyo sect. 5-yin gates. Dian gate. These disciples are the disciples of Shifeng, one of the 5 peaks of the 5-yin sect. Shifeng, as the name suggests, is mainly used to drive zombies. Depending on the level of the realm, the disciples within the peak are all practicing the heavenly corpse mind technique. Before the 3rd level of Qi refining, one can only rely on controlling the simple actions of low-level zombies with corpse symbols. After the 3rd level of Qi refining, one can refine zombies into their own life corpses, and with the improvement of their disciples' realm, life corpses can also be enhanced. Unfortunately, the heavenly corpse mind technique within the sect is not complete and can only be practiced to the level of the golden elixir. It is said that the original name of the 5-yin gate was the 5-yin sect, where the 3 great primordial gods, the ancestors, were stationed to suppress Zhou. 100 years ago, a strange treasure descended from heaven, and the holy land of the underworld, the divine ancestor, came across the continent. The 3 great elemental gods of the 5-yin sect, the ancestor, died and disappeared. Only 1 elder of the golden elixir escaped with some inheritance and established the 5-yin gate in the Di Kingdom. Senior brother Lin's name is Lin Quan, and his Qi refining realm has 9 levels of great perfection. Apart from Lin Quan, there is also a black-robed person with 3 levels of Qi refining. The rest of them have just started their journey, and their realm is the 1st level of Qi refining. Half a day later, everyone arrived at the outskirts of the ash miasma forest. Immediately, Lin Quan summoned his own dead body, and a green zombie appeared in the open space ahead, with a hair length of 2 inches. Senior brother Lin is so strong. Look at his lifeless corpse, its fur is a bit more graceful. Of course. Ugh. Let's go inside. Immediately, Lin Quan walked towards the depths of the ash miasma forest with his life corpse, followed closely by several junior brothers, followed by Lu Ju by Ju, while Li Ningye deliberately walked at the end of the team. As it gradually deepened, sporadic white stiffening began to appear. Suddenly, Li Ningye stopped in front of him and almost bumped into his brother Bai Nuan. Originally, 2 green zombies stood motionless in the distance. Just these 2, I'll clean up the white stiff next to me first. Lin Quan seemed to have silently recited something, and ordered the corpse to jump towards the white zombies around him. What an imbecile corpse, it still needs to jump when walking, Li Ningye murmured secretly in his heart. Quickly, a few scattered white zombies around were cleaned up. Immediately, the corpse stretched out its arms and headed towards the 2 green zombies. Dang 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 dang. A series of metal impacts sounded, and 2 green corpses paused slightly before killing the deadly ones. Look carefully, the green corpse doesn't know how to cast spells. Its most powerful is its hard body, which can withstand attacks from lower-level magical weapons. Another thing is corpse poison, which can be triggered by the Qi refining stage and cause death. After Lin Quan finished speaking, he made a seal with 1 hand and used several spells against the corpse. Light body technique. Copper skin technique. The speed of the corpse instantly surged, with a faint yellow light emanating from all over its body, and its arms simultaneously blocking the attacks of the two green zombies. Immediately, Lin Quan took out the formation flag and with special steps, inserted 7 formation flags in a row in the nearby open space. A sudden mist appeared around the empty space, and the lifeless corpses slowly led 2 green zombies into the mist. "You stay outside the formation to protect me." Lin Quan's voice rang out, and he was immediately seen walking into the mist. Chapter 2. Infection. The first spiritual zombie. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Corpse Island, Ash Miasma Forest. Several black-robed people sat cross-legged on the empty ground, closing their eyes and recuperating. Li Ningye took this opportunity and kept looking around, hoping to find an opportunity to escape. He is an alternative among zombies, and if the black-robed man discovers his uniqueness, his fate will definitely be disastrous. I have it. Li Ning had a sudden inspiration at night. Taking advantage of the crowd's lack of attention, he slowly moved and approached a white zombie in front of him, quickly pulling off the corpse control talisman from the white zombie's body. Roar. I saw Bai Nuan let out an angry roar and quickly charged towards the nearest black-robed man. Not good. The black-robed man with the highest cultivation suddenly stood up and looked towards the direction of the white stiff. Without much thought, he took out a yellow talisman and swept towards the concrete white stiff. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Li Ningye pulled off the yellow talismans on 4 white stiff bodies in a row, and then he stood still, pretending to be still under control. Suddenly, there were several roars on the field, and several black-robed people suddenly became chaotic. Junior brothers, don't panic, use the corpse control talisman. The black-robed man with the highest cultivation quickly said upon seeing this. Upon hearing this, 2 black-robed men took out the corpse control talisman from their bags. Senior brother, I don't have a corpse control talisman. The youngest person in black almost cried. There is still a white stiff there, and his yellow talisman is still there. Brother Luo, hurry up and control that concrete white stiff. Brother Luo turned his head and saw Li Ningye with his back facing him. There was a yellow talisman sticking to his back, and he quickly grabbed the seal and ran towards Li Ningye. Don't come over, I'm standing here well. If they knew I still had consciousness, they wouldn't slice me, would they? Li Ningye thought to herself in a complicated way. Spell it together. As he listened to the footsteps behind him gradually approaching, he seemed to have made up his mind. Suddenly, Li Ningye turned around, took a step forward, hugged Brother Luo, and opened his mouth to bite his neck. Ah! Accompanied by Brother Luo's screams, he was seen convulsing all over, his hands and feet unconsciously waving, and his neck bleeding profusely. Mercury, mercury. Cool. Li Ningye drank the spiritual blood of a cultivator for the first time, and his whole body was crispy and numb, feeling surprisingly refreshed. In no time, Brother Luo's body softened. Brother Luo. The nearest black-robed man heard a scream and saw the scene that made his eyes crack. He quickly formed a seal with one hand and saw a yellow talisman fly to Li Ningye's chest. Li Ningye immediately stood motionless. The black-robed man took a deep breath and quickly ran over to check on the situation of Brother Luo. However, what he didn't see was that while he was examining the body, Li Ningye slowly turned his head, his eyes fixed on his neck, and then took a fierce bite. Ah! In no time, except for the black-robed person who was refining the 3rd layer of qi, the other few black-robed people all fell to the ground. Li Ningye looked towards the last person in black. I saw him being surrounded by 2 white zombies, with several other white zombie corpses scattered around him. His hands trembled slightly, and the knife in his hand emitted a layer of flickering white light. At this moment, the black-robed man seemed to have silently recited something, his face turning extremely pale, but a grey light flashed on the knife. In an instant, 2 heads flew up, while 2 white stiff figures fell to the ground. Is it a spell? Li Ningye was secretly frightened and approached the black-robed man more cautiously. Who? What kind of monster are you? The man in the black robe was panting heavily. He had already noticed this strange white stiff and looked at Li Ningye with a shocked expression. Li Ningye remained silent and gave the black-robed man a fierce smile. Ah! The black-robed man was so smirked that he almost missed the knife in his hand. With all his strength, he slashed at Li Ningye's neck with a single blow. Chang! Unfortunately, he had just exhausted his last bit of spiritual energy, and even Li Ningye's skin did not break open. Immediately, he was bitten by Li Ningye's neck and soon turned into a dry corpse. After inhaling the blood of these cultivators, Li Ningye felt a change in her body. He felt extremely itchy all over, and his white hair began to slowly elongate, eventually stopping at 3 inches. His skin became more resilient, and his nails and his hands turned slightly green and sharper. But what he didn't notice was that while he was checking for changes in his body, the black-robed people lying on the ground were slowly standing up one by one. Roar! Li Ningye turned around when she heard the sound, her face shocked. Sleeping slot. I saw 5 black-robed people standing on the open ground, their eyes bloodshot, and the skin outside the black robe was covered with patches of corpse. Is this a zombie? Immediately, a strange feeling arose in his heart, as if he had established some kind of connection with the zombies. Is it because I was reborn and carried the zombie virus, which gave me the ability to infect? Li Ning murmured to herself at night. Master! Master! Suddenly, a stuttering sound sounded beside him. Li Ningye was startled and immediately looked to his side, only to see that the person who had just spoken was the black-robed man surnamed Luo, whom he had initially contracted. Did you just speak? Yes, master. After you bit me, I felt like I was trapped in darkness. But soon, a light appeared, and when I opened my eyes, I saw you again, my master. The black-robed man replied dumbfounded. Good guy, now that we're developed, wouldn't it be possible to form my army in the future, with men attacking cities and territories, and women? Li Ningye had a lewd expression on her face, occasionally making strange noises. At this moment, waves appeared in the mist, as if the battle inside had reached its climax. Not good, Lin Quan is coming out soon. Without time to think carefully, Li Ningye quickly fled this place with a few zombies. Half a day later, the fog shrank and quickly dissipated. Lin Quan and his corpse appeared in the open space. With a wave of his hand, he put several formation flags into his storage bag. Immediately, he saw a scene before him, with several white zombies lying on the ground in all directions, as well as 2 corpses of his junior brothers, and more of them had already disappeared without a trace. What's going on? Lin Quan's face looked ugly, and then he began to examine the wounds on the body as if he had thought of something. White stiff. Knife wound. Is this wound on top caused by Zhang Shidi's magical tool? At this moment, Lin Quan noticed the traces left by someone passing by and immediately turned into a black light chasing towards the traces. In the cave, Li Ning leaned against her groaning belly and lay on the ground, flipping through today's harvest. A pile of medicine bottles, several jade slips, a pile of inner pills, and several stones of different shapes. On the way back, he learned that the talking zombie was called Lorraine. Lauren, what are all these? Master, there is yangqi powder in the medicine bottle. Jade slips are our cultivation techniques, stones are inferior spirit stones, and the inner pill is a white zombie corpse pill. Master, you can absorb these white zombie body pills, and after a certain amount, you can evolve into a green zombie. After listening to Luo Lin's words, Li Ning sat cross-legged and picked up a corpse pill to feel it. A magical thing happened, and the corpse pill visibly shrank, leaving only a layer of white ash in his hands in no time. In no time, he had absorbed all the corpse pills. His body began to undergo changes. I saw his white hair grow 3 inches longer and his nails on his hands become sharper. It seems like there should be more of these corpse pills. Li Ningye pinched the white hair on her chin and murmured to herself. At this moment, Li Ningye noticed something else in the bag. He picked it up and saw that it was a black bone finger. "Lauren, what is this?" "Master, I don't know either. Could it be some kind of material?" Li Ningye didn't pay much attention after listening and casually placed her bone finger in the bag on her body, ready to take a few zombies out to hunt the white zombie. Chapter 3. Corpse Sutra, Xing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. To the north of Corpse Island, several zombies are besieging a white zombie. Up. Strike his side. Kick him down. Li Ningye held an unknown small grass in his mouth and commanded there. In no time, the concrete white zombie fell to the ground with a thud, and then Li Ningye walked over and picked out a white corpse pill from the zombie pill field, throwing it into the pocket he carried with him. This is already the 10th white stiff of Li Ning's night hunting, and 3 days have passed since that day. These days, he found that the zombies he was infected with were very different from zombies. Zombies have steel muscles and iron bones, while zombies only slightly strengthen their bodies, which is completely incomparable to zombies, but zombies are more flexible. On the contrary, Luo Lin, unlike ordinary zombies, seems to still have spiritual power in his body, but his realm is too low, and that spiritual power is equivalent to none. Alright, it's almost over. I'm tired today, so I'll go back to sleep. Li Ningye pinched Hem's tail and flipped over to sit on Hem's back. Number 34, drive number 34, suddenly, Li Ningye felt as if someone was ahead. It's not in vain that I followed you for a few days, and you were able to transform my junior brothers into zombies. You must have a shocking secret on you. A greedy voice sounded ahead, and a black-robed man appeared in front of them, followed by a green zombie. Lin Quan. Seeing someone coming ahead, Li Ningye's whole body trembled. Up. Li Ningye muttered to himself. Several zombies shot towards Lin Quan in an instant, while he slowly leaned back with Luo Lin. Light body technique. Lin Quan silently recited a few words, and the lifeless corpse instantly quickened its speed, and in the blink of an eye, it came to the front of those few zombies. Click. Life corpses were like chopping melons and vegetables. In an instant, several great heads flew into the air, and several zombies fell to the ground in an instant. Why so weak? Lin Quan was secretly puzzled. What he didn't know was that this was a zombie, different from the zombies in this world. Do you want to escape? Originally, Li Ningye and his companions were already several meters away from him, and they turned their heads to prepare for a wild run. I saw the corpse jump several meters away and soon chased the two of them. Shwa. The corpse claws were as fast as lightning, and in a moment they were in front of them. Li Ningye's reaction was slightly faster, and he immediately dodged backwards. Luo Lin's reaction was slightly slower, and he only heard a click. His left arm broke in response, while the other walking corpses were not so lucky. All of this may sound slow, but in reality, it happens between lightning and flint. Seeing this scene, Lin Quan said calmly, "Hand over your secret." Li Ningye remained silent, her heart filled with despair, and she tried her best to avoid the attack of the corpses. When? Damn it, I can't break through the defense of the green zombie at all. In no time, Li Ningye had wounds of varying depths on his body, and his movements became slower and slower. Roar. Li Ningye let out a roar and lowered his head with difficulty, only to see a corpse claw pass through his chest. Drop. 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 Black blood dripped down the corner of his mouth. Is it over before it starts? Li Ning's consciousness gradually blurred. Lin Quan showed a hint of sneer upon seeing this and slowly walked over, trying to control him with one hand constantly imprinting. But what he didn't notice was that Li Ningye's black blood was slowly being absorbed by the black bone fingers in his pocket. Buzz. The entire corpse island suddenly fell silent, and all the zombies on the island knelt on the ground, with complex expressions of fear and fanaticism on their faces. But Li Ningye instantly fainted, and in the last moment of his coma, he only saw a black light shining in front of him. What's going on? Lin Kuan's face was shocked, and his eyes were filled with disbelief and fear. Boom! A faint giant finger appeared in the sky above the corpse island, breaking through the grey clouds that had been shrouded on the island for years and revealing the long-lost sunlight. I saw that this finger was covered in black runes all over its body, constantly circulating, while the area around the finger was covered in dense cracks. Under the sunlight, a large number of low-level white zombies on the island instantly turned into fly ash, while higher-level green zombies emitted flames all over their bodies, and an unpleasant odor came from the air. But even so, all the green zombies knelt and dared not move around, as if this finger was their supreme existence. Suddenly, this finger flipped and instantly shrunk, becoming the size of an ordinary finger, as if a lightning bolt had struck Lin Kuan's forehead. Bang! Lin Kuan fell to the ground in an instant, lifeless, with a frightened expression on his face. As the gentle breeze blew, it turned into a mist and dissipated. And the black finger gradually decomposed into liquid, fully integrating into Li Ningye's body. In an instant, granulation sprouted from Li Ningye's injured area, and in less than a while, it healed back to its original state. And a mark appeared at the center of his eyebrows, just like the rune on his finger, flowing non-stop until it turned into a missing text, flickering a few times before disappearing. And the grey clouds on the island began to condense again, and soon they returned to their original state as if nothing had happened. I don't know how long it took, but Li Ningye's body moved slightly before slowly opening her eyes a bit confused. Before he could wake up, a large amount of information suddenly flooded into his mind, and his face twisted in an instant, as if he had endured immense pain. Corpse Sutra. People have 3 souls, heavenly soul, earthly soul, and life soul. Corpse has no 3 souls, but it can be repaired. By cultivating the heavenly soul, one can gain yang qi. Second, cultivation of earth soul, connecting the 5 elements. Triple cultivation of life soul, exploring the 9 secrets. He gradually realized that the Corpse Sutra is both a skill and a secret technique, divided into 9 layers. You can obtain a secret technique for every level of cultivation. Hurry up and leave. Li Ningye dared not stay and quickly fled back to the cave. She sat cross-legged and began practicing the first part of the Corpse Classic. In this way, Li Ningye not only went out every day to search for blood and food, but also practiced in the cave. 3 months had already passed in a blink of an eye. On this day, Li Ningye sat cross-legged in the cave. After operating the first level of cultivation method in the Corpse Sutra for countless weeks, suddenly a first strand of airflow was generated in his body. The airflow flowed along the meridians for a week before rapidly strengthening and finally entering his eyebrows. He knew that he had achieved the first level of cultivation. Immediately, his mind twitched, and a transparent strand of gas appeared in his hand, faintly visible. He kept swimming around, flipping his hand to retract it, and the gas returned to his forehead. According to the Corpse Sutra, this wisp of gas is called corpse chi, which is extremely domineering. Corpse energy is the same as spiritual energy, but more advanced than spiritual power. When using corpse energy to cast spells or drive magical tools, it will attach its unique corrosiveness. Next, all he needs to do is to strengthen and compress this strand of corpse energy, producing the first drop of liquid, and he will be considered to have completed the second level of the corpse scripture. In the dark, he felt as if he had broken free from a shackle, feeling relaxed all over, and then a secret technique appeared in his mind. Secret technique. Instant blood and flesh. He instantly realized the effect of the secret technique. The sudden emergence of flesh and blood greatly improved Li Ning's recovery ability at night. Even stronger, this secret technique gave Li Ningye 3 opportunities to self-revive when suffering fatal damage. Chapter 4. Outlying Islands, 5 Gates. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. 3 years later, there was an unnamed cave on the corpse island. Outside the cave stood a figure, with an empty left hand and exposed skin covered in various sizes of corpse spots. It was the zombie Luo Lin. Not far away lay a wild boar, flipping its mouth up and down as if chewing something, occasionally making a strange humming sound. A white, stiff and solemn-looking person sat inside the cave, looking very strange. Buzz. With a muffled sound, Bai Jun opened his eyes and a cold light flashed through the cave, which was Li Ningye. I saw his white hair slowly growing, and upon closer inspection, it was already 9 inches long. Finally, I'm 9 layers white stiff, Li Ning murmured to herself at night. It has been 3 years since the last time, during which he not only went out to hunt white zombies but also cultivated corpse chi. Today, he finally cultivated to the 9th level of white zombies. Ordinary white zombie pills are no longer necessary for him, and corpse chi has changed from a strand to the current one. And in recent years, the zombie Luo Lin on the island has only been equivalent to refining the 4th layer of chi until today because he has been feeding on the flesh and blood of the winter crow. Li Ning closed her eyes and breathed a sigh for a while, then took out the corpse pill of Lin Quan's life corpse, pinched it in her hand, and began to absorb it. The green zombie's corpse pill must have 9 layers of white zombie to absorb, and its level is too low to refine its energy. As time passed, the corpse pill slowly became smaller, and Li Ningye's appearance began to change. The white hair on his body grew slowly again, staying at 9.9 inches. More areas of the skin began to grow keratin, and the muscles on the body began to swell and contract, eventually returning to their original appearance. The skin under the white hair began to become soft, and the nails on the hands slowly shortened, producing a metallic luster. Ordinary people can feel a sharp pain when staring at them. Finally, the corpse turned into a handful of green ash. Roar. Li Ningye felt the power of her body and let out a roar. It's time to leave. Let's go, rolling. Okay, master. Immediately, Luo Lin took the spiritual talisman given by the 5 gates and sealed it with one hand. He saw the talisman fly and disappear into the sky in an instant. And Li Ningye disguised himself as the life corpse of Luo Lin and stood behind him. In a moment, a black light flashed past and stopped in front of Luo Lin. What a Lorraine kid. Number 34, I thought all of your Shifeng disciples died on the island in an accident. 3 years without seeing you, you have actually refined a lifeless corpse. Number 34. Hair length is 9 inches and 9. Number 34, strange and strange. Your realm only has 4 layers of chi refining. The person raised a series of questions and looked at Rolling in surprise. Uncle Li, the disciples encountered a zombie on the corpse island and managed to escape, while the other senior brothers were not so lucky. Luo Lin pretended to be afraid and trembling, saying. At the moment when the disciple was seriously injured, he happened to have a small chance to refine into a deadly corpse. Alright, Roland, I'm not interested in your broken corpses. Our blood beast peak is different from your corpse peak. Let's go, I'll take you out of the island. Uncle Li interrupted Luo Lin's words and said disdainfully. Immediately summon a black ark and let Lorraine carry the corpse onto the ark. Senior uncle, can you let me take that wild boar with me? When my disciple was seriously injured, he relied on this wild boar to carry me. Alright, bring it with you. I can't see that Shifeng has a strange appearance like you. Would you consider coming to our blood beast peak, kid? No need, senior uncle. Master is very kind to me, and I don't feel like I have the talent to guard beasts. Luo Lin smiled sarcastically. Oh, your master. I see that you, the wild boar, have not yet activated your spiritual intelligence. Jia, I have a newly developed enlightenment pill here. Let me give you the wild boar to take it. Before Luo Lin could refuse, Uncle Li flipped his palm and a blood-red pill appeared in his palm. With a flick of his finger, the pill accurately penetrated the wild boar's mouth. Hem suddenly began to roll on the ground in pain, with occasional moans coming out of his mouth. In a moment, Hem lay motionless on the ground, its body slowly growing larger, covered in blood, and its black hair dyed blood red. Suddenly, the groaning buttocks kept wriggling, only to see two flesh buds sprouting from the buttocks, which immediately grew into two tails. In no time, the changes stopped. Humph shook his head and stood up, his eyes constantly turning left and right, revealing a hint of cunning in his eyes. A few people looked at the wild boar with three tails wriggling its buttocks on the empty ground, looking strange. "Thank you, senior uncle, but this spirit pill. How strange it is. What kind of elixir is the Qi Ling pill that wild boars should take? This is the spirit summoning pill specially developed by my martial uncle, but why does it grow a tail? Didn't I have 2 extra hands when I tried using a monkey before?" Li Shishu pinched his chin and murmured to himself. What he didn't see was Li Ningye's mouth twitching uncontrollably after listening to his words behind the others. All right, let's go. I'll take you back to the corpse peak." Without waiting for Rolling's reaction, the flying boat was activated, and a black light flashed, rolling up a few people and a beast before disappearing into the sky. 5 Yin Gate, Corpse Peak. 2 people and 1 beast instantly appeared in the open space of the corpse peak, and it was Li Ning and the others. Then a black light flashed through, and the flying boat disappeared into the sky like a fleeing. "You're really unreliable, senior uncle." Li Ning's heart could not stop roast at night, while his eyes looked at the surrounding environment vaguely. "I saw a faint black mist covering the path, and various unknown plants growing along the way. As it gradually deepened, scattered black-robed people began to appear on the road. Some black-robed people were followed by jumping zombies. Luo Lin greeted them all the way, but all the black-robed people had zombie faces, as if they had lost their popularity after practicing for a long time. "Why are there so few disciples in the sect?" Luo Lin murmured to himself, as if speaking to the people behind him. "Isn't this brother Luo? I thought you were all dead." As soon as Su Shishu left the level, he saw that Lin Quan's life light had gone out and almost got angry. He went to see his ancestor. If it weren't for a big battle between Joyo sect and Xingyi sect, several Shishu would have gone to the battlefield. Otherwise, he would have gone to pacify the corpse island long ago. Stepping on the corpse island. I'm afraid that the flying zombie will scare Uncle Su to death as soon as it comes out. I heard that as soon as Master Su went to the battlefield, his life corpse was severely injured by the spiritual consciousness master of the Xingyi sect. At this moment, only a few mockery could be heard coming from the black mist, and then several black-robed men with golden stripes appeared in front of Luo Lin. All of them were accompanied by lifeless corpses, and behind the leader was a 4-inch-long green zombie. Fake corpse. It's already white, stiff and full. Brother Luo is really lucky, one of the black-robed men sneered with a hint of jealousy. Senior brother Wang, he just had a slight chance encounter. Upon seeing a few people, Luo Lin's face changed greatly and he immediately replied with a slightly restrained tone. Junior brother has just returned from the corpse island and needs to report back immediately. After speaking, Luo Lin quickly left from the side of several people. Interesting. I saw the leader pinching his chin and watching the figure of the 2 of them and the beast disappear, showing a thoughtful expression. Chapter 5. Soul Prison. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Shifeng, 2 people and 1 beast stand outside Su Su's cave. Brother Luo. At this moment, a voice came from behind Rolling. Senior brother Su. Luo Lin turned around to look, and Li Ningye also turned around to secretly look at the person. He saw that the person had thin lips and a harsh look, followed by a green stiff figure with 3 inches of hair. It was Su Jiang, the eldest senior brother of Su Su's lineage. Master hasn't come back yet. Master went to support the Joyo sect a few months ago. I heard that the corpse was seriously injured and may come back in the next few days. Oh, have you already refined the life corpse? Hair length is 9 inches and 9. Su Jian spoke calmly and immediately noticed the white stiffness beside Luo Lin, with a shocked expression on his face. Yes, senior brother. Junior brother has some chance to get along on the corpse island, Luo Lin replied respectfully. Su Jiang didn't delve into it. After all, everyone has their own secrets, and there are many who have been refining and turning green zombies in the corpse peak for several years. He then said calmly, "You're really back at the right time. I heard that the battle between the Xing sect and the Joyo sect is becoming increasingly fierce, and maybe we will have the corpse peak chi refining disciples come on stage. Jia, there may be a time when your junior brother Luo will become famous. By the way, Brother Luo, since you have cultivated a life corpse, you can be considered an inner disciple and go to collect the inner disciple's cave and monthly supplies and magical tools." After speaking, without waiting for Luo Lingduo to speak, he left this place. Wuding Tang. Uncle Wang, that's right here. Luo Lin casually chose a remote place south of Shifeng as his cave. Each external disciple who becomes a new internal disciple can receive their own cave, as well as one spell and one artifact, at the Wooding Hall. The treasures of this world are divided into artifacts, inferior treasures, intermediate treasures, and superior treasures, but inner disciples are not for nothing. They must receive a task every year, and the contribution points they receive can be exchanged for items in the Wooding Hall. Master, I have chosen the remaining chapters of Refining Corpse Technique for my spells, and the Divine Walking Boots for my tools. Okay. Uncle immediately handed over a storage bag. Promoted to an inner disciple, in addition to spells and tools, the inner sect will also receive a storage bag, and can also come to receive 5 spirit stones for cultivation every month. The reason why Li Ningye chose the remaining chapters of the Refining Corpse Technique and the Divine Walking Boots was a carefully considered choice, because he is a zombie body, so he does not lack defense and attack, only a speed-type spell, and he does not have spiritual power. Exchanging spells temporarily has no effect. To the south of Shifeng. Luo Lin took out the formation plate and opened it, only to see a small path appear. 2 people and 1 beast disappeared on the path. So it's like this. Besides absorbing the essence of the sun and the moon, zombies can also refine various materials to improve zombies. I saw a figure inside the cave, it was Li Ningye. A year has passed in a blink of an eye, and during this year, Li Ningye not only absorbed the moonlight every day but also learned the technique of refining corpses. With the monthly spirit stone and the absorption of the essence of the moon, his body chi has reached the limit and can't grow anymore. And the physical strength has also reached its limit. Master, I just went to Wooding Hall to collect this year's trial task. I am going to the residence of Huchi Wu under the 5-Yin Gate. I heard that a large number of mortals in that area are missing, and the life lamp of the chi refining cultivator sent inside the front door has also been extinguished. Therefore, I was sent inside the gate to investigate. Immediately outside the cave, a voice rang out, it was Luo Lin. There are many residences under the 5-Yin sect, and it is said that those who break through the hopeless chi refining cultivators in the sect will go down the mountain to establish a family, and Huchi Fortress is one of them. After listening to Luo Lin's words, Li Ningye pondered for a while and then made a decision in her heart. In no time, 2 people and 1 beast left the corpse peak and rushed towards the Fox Chi Fortress. At the same time, Hu Chi Wu and Sun Fu. 2 figures stand opposite each other. One of the voices said, Jia, Sun Wuzhu, I see that you cultivators are no less skilled than us in Soul Prison. People from your own family can take action. Number 34, cough, 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 cough. Number 34, I'm about to gather all the living souls. I can't miss the little Yensho pill that promised me then. Only one other voice sounded faintly. Don't worry, our soul prison keeps its promises. Hurry up, the chi refining junior brother in the front door has been drained of his soul by you. I have received a message from the sect that someone will be sent to investigate the situation in the next few days. If the sect finds out that I am colluding with the people in the soul prison, it will not be a chi refining disciple coming. A few days later, two figures appeared outside the dock, clearly Li Ningye and the others. As soon as Li Ningye arrived here, he used a secret technique to transform into a young man. Master, let's go to Sun Mansion first. This place was established by a senior brother's son, and the disciples inside the front door are staying inside the mansion. Let's go. Immediately, the two of them and one beast entered the Fox Chi fortress and walked towards the Sun Mansion in the center of the fortress. Something's wrong. Li Ning frowned at night and stopped at a noodle stall. Quiet, it's too quiet. There's not even a bird's cry in the entire Huchi fortress. Immediately he looked at the noodle stall owner, who remained silent and repeatedly picked up the noodles in the pot with one hand. It was noon at this moment, and the pedestrians were all numb in expression. Li Ning looked around at night and saw that everyone around her was mechanically repeating the same thing, like a winded puppet. Let's go to Sun Mansion. The two of them and one beast quickly rushed towards the Sun Mansion in the center of the dock, and as soon as they arrived at the door, they heard a cheerful laughter. Is this Brother Luo? As expected, he is young and talented. A person dressed in a robe appeared at the entrance. As if sensing Sun's surprise, Luo Lin said in a casual tone, Son, this is the spirit beast I raised. I was previously tested with a new medicine by Master Li of Blood Beast Peak, so it looks a bit strange. Only 3 layers of spiritual gathering. Senior Sun glanced and hummed, but didn't think much. He knew that the crazy people at Blood Beast Peak could study anything to make the monster stronger. Let's go first. The recent events have made me physically and mentally exhausted every day. Fortunately, the 2 junior brothers have come. The Blood Beast Peak is the same as the Corpse Peak. All cultivation in the Blood Beast Peak revolves around spiritual beasts. It is said that the spiritual beast of the leader of the Blood Beast Peak is a mountain tiger in the Condensing Dan realm, who once achieved the same level of 1 enemy and 2 without falling behind. Spiritual beast cultivation also has realm divisions, including gathering spirits, awakening meridians, condensing pills, all phenomena, demon emperors, which correspond 1.2.1 with the cultivation of Qi, Purple Mansion, Golden Pill, Primordial Spirit, and Divine Spirit by cultivators. After taking Li Shishu's pill, Hem activated his spiritual intelligence. Unfortunately, he had not yet reached the awakening realm and could not awaken his blood. He could only absorb the moonlight every day, so he has only gathered 3 layers of spiritual energy until now. Master. Hello, young adults. I saw a person dressed as a butler standing inside the door. When I saw a few people, I quickly lowered my head and saluted. This is Steward Lin. During my time down the mountain, it was all thanks to Steward Lin's management that Huchi Fortress was able to develop like this. Senior brother Sun quickly introduced Lin Butler to several people. Luo Lin didn't pay much attention and gave a faint bow. Then, the 2 of them followed senior brother Sun into the mansion. Chapter 6. The first appearance of Fang. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A few people placed him at the door and then walked towards the lobby of the mansion. Sit down, junior brother Luo. Although our Huchi fortress is relatively simple, the specialty spirit tea is deeply loved by the elders in the sect. Why don't you give it a try? After Sun finished speaking, without waiting for Luo Lin to refuse, he immediately instructed the steward Lin to bring 2 cups of hot tea. Before the tea arrived, Li Ningye could only smell a burst of sweet floral fragrance. Just by smelling this scent, Li Ningye felt his corpse chi flow accelerate. Good thing. Li Ningye glanced vaguely at the tea cup and saw that the liquid inside was reddish-brown, with a light red tea leaf floating up and down in it. It's just a bit stingy, just a piece of tea. Li Ning murmured secretly in his heart. Why does this tea have a bloody smell? Li Ningye was startled by the smell of blood emanating from the tea cup. He glanced vaguely at Luo Lin, who seemed to notice something and took a sip before putting down the tea cup. It's true that zombies are particularly sensitive to blood, but they feel that the Fox Chi Fortress is becoming increasingly strange. Senior brother Sun, this time the main purpose of the sect is for me to investigate the incident where the senior brother's life lamp who was stationed here before went out. You know, the recent battle between the Xing sect and the Jiuyo sect is raging. The sect has sent me here this time to investigate and see if there are suitable immortal seedlings to bring back to the sect to replenish strength. Luo Lin saw that senior brother Sun had not brought himself to the point, so he took the initiative to point out the purpose of this trip. Upon hearing these words, senior brother Sun immediately spoke seriously and said, "Junior brother should know that our Huchi fortress is built by the Blood Mist Valley. The valley is filled with blood mist all year round, and only at a fixed time every year will the blood mist dissipate. At this time, we will send people to collect tea leaves. But just this year, we took advantage of the blood mist to dissipate and sent a small team to collect tea. However, a week later, the tea collectors had not come out yet. At first, we didn't pay attention, so I sent more people into it. As a result, not a single person has come out yet. Previously, junior brother Zhang volunteered to investigate this situation and never returned. It wasn't until a few days ago when the school sent a message that I found out that junior brother Zhang had already ordered the lights to go out and died. When the two of them made things almost clear, Li Ningye also discovered several suspicious aspects of the matter. Firstly, the Sun Mansion can be considered as the family power of the Fox Chi Fortress, and surprisingly, there is no servant in the entire mansion, only a butler is busy living. Secondly, along the way, the entire dock was almost lifeless, and everyone looked like walking corpses. Thirdly, senior brother Sun is too enthusiastic. Even the elders in the sect are reluctant to drink this blood mist tea. He actually used it to entertain Luo Lin, a mere chi refining cultivator. Luo Lin stared at the tea leaves in his cup, not knowing what he was thinking. Suddenly, he spoke up and said, "Senior brother Sun, what we saw along the way to the dock just now is lifeless and lifeless. They all look like walking corpses. So why is that?" After listening to this, senior Sun's heart was shaken. He pinched the tea cap in his hand and held the tea cup, wanting to drink some spiritual tea. Then, as if he had thought of something, he put down the cup and said perfunctorily, "Their families have all gone to collect tea leaves, and they haven't come back yet. Maybe they are worried. The two junior brothers are also tired from the journey. Why don't you rest first? Tomorrow, I will take you to Blood Mist Valley to take a closer look, which may be even better." Luo Lin stared closely at senior Sun's eyes, and after a moment, he stood up and bowed slightly. "Okay, then junior brother will be disrespectful." Immediately, the steward Lin walked over and made a gesture of invitation, and the two followed him out of the lobby. And senior brother Sun, watching the two of them leave, pinched his chin and fell into contemplation. In no time, a figure appeared in the hall. "Jie Jie Jie," senior brother Sun shouted affectionately, "I'm afraid that when the time comes." The person who came was actually the steward Lin. Senior brother Sun ignored the teasing of steward Lin and said with a serious expression, "I don't think something is right with Luo Lin. Anyway, it's just a low-level chi refining cultivator. I don't expect him to be able to stir up any trouble, but he happened to be here. We don't need to take the risk of finding the soul of another chi refining cultivator. That's right, if it weren't for the need to preserve the complete cultivator's soul, today's direct action would have killed him. Tomorrow, we will introduce him into the valley and activate the 3 spirits and 10,000 souls formation. Jia, when the time comes, we will bring him along with other mortal souls. In the second half of the night, the entire Huchi fortress was silent. In the guest room of Sun Mansion, one eye suddenly opened in the darkness, and a figure quickly stood up and leaned against the door to listen to the movements outside. It was Li Ningye. I'll go out and take a look, and you'll be guarding in the room. Li Ningye, relying on the connection between the master and servant, issued a command to Luo Lin. Seeing that there was no movement outside the door, he opened the door and left. In no time, a figure stopped in front of the previous noodle stall, revealing its figure, which was Li Ningye. He looked around and couldn't help but shiver all over, with a frightened expression on his face. The situation around was exactly the same as that in the afternoon. The noodle vendor is still repeatedly picking the noodles from the pot. The vendor of the vegetable stall is still shaking the vegetables in his hand repeatedly. The waiter outside the shop kept shouting at the door, his lips opening and closing, but there was no sound coming out. Li Ningye let out a long breath and then collapsed into a chair. After calming down, I stood up and approached the stall to carefully examine the boss. I saw the boss lifting his head slightly with a smile on his face, his mouth opening and closing as if he was saying something, and his hands were repeatedly stirring up and down, as if a normal noodle seller was chatting with the customers in front of him while selling noodles. At this moment, Li Ning frowned as if suddenly thinking of something and quickly left. In no time, he set foot throughout the entire Fox Chi fortress. He found that everyone in the entire dock, like the noodle stall owner, seemed to have been frozen in a moment, mechanically repeating the actions of that time, including the elderly and children. Li Ning stood still at night, looking around calmly, unsure of what was on her mind. It seemed as if a moment had passed and then a long time had passed, and a figure appeared in various parts of the dock. Dong dong dong. In the early morning, a knocking sound sounded outside the guest room, followed by a sound. Brother Luo, how was your rest last night? Senior brother doesn't want to disturb the rest of the 2 junior brothers. It's true that the blood mist in the Blood Mist Valley has been dispelling for a month now. We need to go as soon as possible, otherwise it will delay the time. Squeak. At this moment, a sound of opening the door rang out, and 2 figures emerged, namely Luo Lin and Li Ningye dressed in black robes. It's been a long time since I slept so soundly. Let's go, senior brother Sunday. I don't have a high cultivation level, but I still need to take care of senior brother Sun along the way. Luo Lin said with a smile on his face. After hearing this, senior brother Sun was slightly taken aback and immediately reacted with a fake smile on his face. Chapter 7. Illustrated by Dagger. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After the polite greetings were over, the few of them rushed towards the Blood Mist Valley. As soon as they left, they saw a tremendous change happening inside the dock. Hush! All the people in the dock suddenly stopped their movements, their expressions paused, and they suddenly lifted their heads. With a big mouth that was about to reach their cheeks, they let out angry roars and ran towards the valley mouth. In no time, several figures stopped at the mouth of the Blood Mist Valley. I saw white light bands scattered around the entire Blood Mist Valley, covered in dense runes, seemingly a formation. Master. Lord Luo. I saw the steward Lin standing at the mouth of the valley, seeing several figures from the valley and quickly saying hello. A faint smile appeared on his stiff face. Manager Lin. Seemingly sensing Luo Lin's surprise, senior brother Sun quickly explained, previously, it was the steward Lin who arranged to collect tea leaves. He was quite familiar with the terrain in the valley, so this time we arranged for him to come with us. Junior brother, please wait a moment. We were worried that someone might sneak in to collect tea, so we set up a 1 yuan band formation around Blood Mist Valley. Immediately, Senior Sun's hands formed a seal, and a light band enveloped the entire valley. A small path appeared at the mouth of the valley, and a few people stepped into it. 15 minutes later, a wild boar emerged from the forest, peeking out at the path, its eyes spinning non-stop. If someone were present at this moment, they would definitely be scared to death. Countless figures stood behind the wild boar, and upon closer inspection, each figure had bright red eyes and a big mouth. Drops of yellow liquid slowly dripped down from the corners of their mouths, and the exposed skin was covered with patches of corpses of varying sizes. Humph hummed and shook his head, making a few screams towards his back. The crowd behind seemed to have received instructions, roaring loudly and running into the path in an instant. At the same time, Li Ningye in the valley seemed to sense something, with a smile on his lips. He then pretended to be calm and followed the few people ahead towards the depths of the valley. As time passed, the view in front of them gradually widened. Unconsciously, they had reached the end of the path and arrived at the center of the valley. I saw that the valley was full of vitality, and the air was filled with a special fragrance. Tea forests were regularly distributed in various parts of the valley, accompanied by a gentle breeze. The tea trees made a rustling sound. Senior Brother Sunday. At this moment, Rolling let out a question. I saw Senior Brother Sun walking towards the center of the valley, while Butler Lin stood with his hands tied and a faint smile on his face. Li Ningye glanced at Luo Lin, who understood and stopped speaking. Immediately, he looked in the direction of Senior Brother Sunday. In a moment, Senior Brother Sun arrived at the center of the valley and sat cross-legged. With a flip of his hand, a gray bottle appeared in his hand. His lips moved slightly, as if he was reading something, while the gray bottle in his hand slowly rose and soon reached his head. Boom! A loud noise came from the valley out of thin air, and the ash bottle exploded. A cloud of gray mist instantly spread out, and one could only vaguely see faces in the mist, old and young, all with grim faces, opening their mouths as if to let out angry roars. One hand extended out of the mist and bounced back fiercely, as if encountering an invisible barrier. Senior Sun's movements didn't stop, but as his lips kept flipping, the mist suddenly began to peel off. The stripped gray air slowly merged into the formation that enveloped the valley, and the formation began to change. The originally white light band quickly disintegrated and then turned into a huge mist, enveloping the entire valley. From time to time, painful screams could be heard in the mist, and terrifying faces appeared in no time. The fog was completely stripped away and integrated into the formation. Buzz! The formation emitted a buzzing sound, and upon completion, Senior Brother Sun immediately stood up and walked towards Luo Lin with a murderous expression on his face. But Li Ningye seemed completely unaware, his eyes fixed on a certain spot in the mist, where the fierce face of the noodle vendor appeared vaguely. Jia, this furnace of blood spirit pill is inferior to your soul. The steward Lin spoke as if there was no one around, as if Luo Lin was already in their bag, and Senior Brother Sun also came to the steward Lin's side, followed by a 1-inch long green stiff. Don't say it, if it's too late, there will be a change. Hurry up and deal with them. If you get the blood spirit pill, withdraw. Sun Senior Brother said solemnly. I don't know why, but looking at Rolling's calm demeanor, he always felt a sense of unease in his heart. Do you think you've won? Li Ning no longer concealed her appearance at night, but let out a cold voice in her mouth. Can you speak? Lin, the butler, looked at Li Ningye with a shocked expression upon hearing the voice. He then thought of something and sneered, what's the use of being able to speak? Can you still make any waves? Although Sun's senior brother was shocked, he kept his hands on the corpse, making a single-hand seal on it. He saw a gust of wind rising from the corpse's body out of thin air, and then the corpse turned into a remnant and killed Li Ningye and the two of them. It's breeze technique. Li Ningye knew from the spell cast by Senior Brother Sun that it was the wind spell, as it was the basic spell of the corpse peak. He had also seen it before when choosing the corpse peak spell, as he could only choose 2 options and did not choose. At the same time, the butler Lin also took out his magic tool, which was a bell. He murmured to himself, and then the bell flew over the heads of Li Ningye and the two of them, constantly shaking and making crisp sounds. Amidst the lightning and fire, Li Ning couldn't think much at night. The corpse aura covered her whole body and quickly flashed forward. At the same time, Rolling also plundered towards the steward Lin. Upon seeing this, senior brother Sun silently recited on his lips for a few moments, and a small bone shield appeared in front of him. Green flames appeared around the bone shield. Bone fire shield. Li Ningye naturally recognized that this was also the spell of Shifeng, but the arrow was on the string and had to be fired. He stretched out his sharp nails and fiercely attacked Sun senior brother. Steward Lin was not so lucky, as he was grabbed on his right arm by Luo Lin. Steward Lin let out a painful cry and immediately offered a black talisman. A black aura instantly rose from him, transforming into a cover that covered his entire body. However, Luo Lin ignored the situation and continued to launch a fierce attack on him. Damn it, why haven't we arrived yet? Although Li Ningye watched them gain the upper hand, he knew in his heart that they were only in the Qi refining realm, and Sun's senior brother and his companions were already in the Purple Mansion realm. They could still fight while they were not paying attention. When they regained their senses, they would definitely not be opponents. Puff. A blood hole instantly appeared in Luo Lin's heart. Fortunately he was a zombie, and the life pill was located in his brain, not greatly affected. And Li Ningye gradually fell into the disadvantageous position, with his body covered in dense wounds. Fortunately, he had flesh and blood instantly, greatly improving his recovery ability, otherwise there would be more wounds on his body. After all, he is just a white stiff. Humph. Roar. At this moment, a wild boar peeked its head and appeared on the path, followed by dense figures. Chapter 8. Blood Spirit Pill. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Finally here. Li Ningye heard the sound of humming and flashed backwards. He saw humming approaching Li Ningye, constantly rubbing his three tails against him. Behind them, a steady stream of figures emerged from the path. I saw some with their heads tilted and some with their bodies bent, but without exception, they all stood quietly behind Li Ningye, their bloodthirsty eyes fixed tightly on Sun senior brother and the two in front. That night, Li Ning went to check the situation inside the dock and found that all the ordinary people in the city were like walking corpses. He was ruthless and spent a night infecting all the people in the city into zombies. Unfortunately, for some unknown reason, no intelligent zombie appeared. And I don't know if it's because there were too many zombies infected this time, so a lot of information naturally came to his mind. Zombies without intelligence can only survive for 7 days and then turn back into corpses, while zombies with intelligence will prosper and suffer alongside Li Ningye. Spiritual zombies have spiritual energy in their bodies, but they cannot practice and can only improve their realm by consuming blood and food. The strongest thing is that spiritual zombies can evolve once every time they reach a higher level. What is this? Zombies. How could there be so many? The two of them looked shocked and murmured to themselves as they looked at the crowded corpses. Li Ningye ignored the reactions of the two and his mind moved, causing the group of corpses to start moving. At the beginning, the zombies continued to walk step by step. As the group slowly moved, the back pushed the front, and the entire group began to move faster and faster. The zombies in front began to quicken their pace, waving their hands forward uncontrollably. In a moment, the zombies in front began to run wildly, and the entire group of corpses rushed towards Sun senior brother and the two of them. Roar. Suddenly, a roar echoed through the valley. The crowd of corpses flooded Sun senior brother and his life corpse like a tide. Lin Song, if we don't use any more means to suppress the bottom of the box, we will be killed by these two gas refining boys today. Only a hurried voice could be heard from the group of corpses, while the steward Lin's face turned pale upon hearing the words. He gritted his teeth and offered a grey spirit flag. With a wave of the flag, two soul shadows, one large and one small, appeared on the field. Surprisingly, the soul shadow did not enter the group of corpses, but flew towards Lin Song and instantly arrived in front of him. Upon seeing this, Lin Song's heart turned horizontal and his 2 fingers broke at the same root. He endured the excruciating pain and threw his fingers towards the 2 soul shadows. Squeak, squeak. Strange chewing sounds echoed on the field. Mother and child resent the spirit flag. Senior son looked at the 2 soul shadows with fear on his face. He knew that these were the original magical tools of the soul prison disciples, and the refining conditions were extremely strict, requiring 2 cultivators, 1 big and 1 small, 1 mother and 1 son. They suffered from torture and died. Taking advantage of the resentment in their mouths, they drew out their souls and used bones as rods and skin as surfaces to refine them in an extremely lean place. Although the conditions are harsh, the power is immense. The immortal path is long, and it is extremely difficult for ordinary people to cultivate. Every person who can cultivate in a village will burn high incense, let alone the special situation of 1 mother and 1 son. So the soul prison people set their sights on the main sect, causing panic and anxiety for a moment. It is precisely because of this that the soul prison cultivators are like rats crossing the street and everyone is shouting and beating. In no time, the sound of chewing stopped, and the 2 soul shadows seemed to condense even more. They then went towards Lin and killed the zombies around them. Roar. At the same time, a red dragon appeared out of thin air in front of Senior Sunday. With a flick of the dragon's tail, the dragon head emitted a spiritual flame towards the group of corpses, and the zombies around him instantly turned into ashes. Good guy, is this the red dragon Lihua talisman? I'm afraid they're trying to deal with me, right? Lin Song thought to himself. In an instant, the surroundings of senior brother Sun and the others became a vacuum zone. The 2 of them breathed a long sigh of relief, and their faces showed smiles from the aftermath of the disaster. Li Ningye saw the changes on the field and his mind moved. He quickly led Luo Lin towards the path. This is the only exit in the entire valley, and if the 2 of them want to escape, they can only escape from here. He knew that the 2 of them would undoubtedly die, and they felt hopeful, but they didn't know how many zombies were left behind. Are you happy too early? The 2 of them paused their smiles and looked towards Li Ningye, then a look of despair appeared on their faces. Li Ning stood in front of him at night, surrounded by a dense array of figures, while the figures continued to stream out from the path. Cough cough. At this moment, Lin Song began to cough incessantly, with a painful expression on his face. His eyes kept rolling upwards, and he then lowered his head, trembling his body. However, senior brother Sun thought that Lin Song was a sequela of using the Zimu resentment soul flag in the battle just now, so he didn't pay much attention. Did you have a seizure? Li Ningye had already noticed that Lin Song's arm was injured by Luo Lin, but he was not sure if other zombies besides him could infect others. Immediately, he felt a faint sense in his heart, confirming his hypothesis. Roar. Lin suddenly let out a roar, his head lifted violently, and his teeth kept hitting him up and down, making a strange and clanging sound. Immediately, his head tilted to the left, his eyes turning red as he looked at Senior Sun not far away and pounced fiercely. Ah! Lin Song, what are you doing? Without time to react, Senior brother Sun was bitten off by Lin Song and had a piece of flesh and blood on his neck. His body slowly collapsed, with a look of shock and doubt on his face. Didn't he awaken his spiritual consciousness? Well, let Luo Lin devour his flesh and blood, and let Sun Song devour and waste it. Li Ningye thought to herself and immediately asked Luo Lin to devour Sun senior brother's flesh and blood. Luo Lin flashed up to senior brother Sun, while Lin let out a roar and retreated to the back. Bam, bam, bam. Luo Lin pounced on Senior Sun and kept making strange noises. How disgusting. Don't get his storage bag dirty. What about this formation? Li Ningye gave Luo Lin a disdainful glance, then frowned and glanced at the grey mist in the sky. Then he walked over and flipped through the storage bags on both of them, wanting to see if there were any clues. How poor. Li Ningye pursed her lips and then flipped through the jade slips. I have it. Blood spirit pill. His eyes lit up, his mind immersed in the jade slips, and his eyes slowly revealed enlightenment. I see. The blood spirit pill is made by refining 3 souls into fire, 1,000 souls into firewood, and 10,000 bones into a furnace. No wonder the 2 of them didn't take action in the dock and wanted to lead us into the valley. It turned out that for over 30 years, 80% of the ordinary people who entered the valley to pick tea died suddenly every year. Until now, this valley has become a burial ground for 10,000 bones. Immediately, he took out the formation flag and used the method introduced in the jade slips to offer the formation flag and shoot it into the formation. He seemed to be reciting something in his mouth. Boom boom boom. The valley shook violently a few times before returning to calm. 3 soul shadows slowly coalesced in mid-air. It was the soul shadows of Sun's senior brother, Lin Song, and another disciple of Shifeng. Sun's senior brother and Lin Song showed resentment on their faces and seemed to be constantly cursing, while the other disciple showed gratitude and bowed to Li Ning at night. Condense. As he finished reciting the last syllable in his mouth, white dots of light began to emerge in the valley, condensing into the air and transforming into the shape of a furnace. He watched as the alchemy furnace formed, breathed a sigh of relief, and then his hands began to seal. The gray mist in the sky suddenly moved and turned into a long river flowing continuously into the furnace, while 3 soul shadows stood around the triangle of the alchemy furnace, slowly burning all over. 2 days later, the fog in the valley was completely depleted. A blood-colored pill flew up from the alchemy furnace, turning into a red light. It was then flipped over by Li Ningye and taken into his palm. Immediately, Li Ningye rode away quickly with a hum. Chapter 9. Breakthrough, Make One Move. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 15 minutes later, Hold the Moon Mountain. A wild boar appeared at the foot of the mountain, with a white stiff perched on it, followed by a man in a black robe covered in dense air, and it was Li Ningye and his group. That's it. Immediately, the group entered the mountain. Boom boom boom. A sound came from the mountains, and they dug out a rudimentary cave. Li Ningye sat cross-legged in the cave, flipped his hand, and the blood spirit pill appeared in his hand. Without hesitation, he threw it into his mouth, and a strong medicinal power instantly surged through his meridians. In an instant, a painful expression appeared on his face. Countless faces flashed through his mind, accompanied by countless murmurs. Mother. Ah. Why? As if it had been a long time before yesterday, my mind suddenly fell silent. Roar. Li Ningye let out a painful roar. I saw his body constantly twisting and wrestling on the ground, making a crackling sound all over his body. Soon, his height was elevated by a piece out of thin air. And the white hair around the body quickly fell off, growing green hair again. The keratin on the skin begins to peel off, and the skin begins to exude a jade-like luster. The nails became more condensed, and the color completely turned into a dark green. Li Ningye finally broke through to the green zombie layer. Before he could carefully examine the changes in his body, the corpse energy in his body began to stir. The corpse chi spontaneously flows through his meridians and quickly grows. If the previous corpse chi was a small stream, then the current corpse chi is like a river. The meridians in his body protrude one by one under his skin, which looks very frightening. If you can see his body at this moment, you can find that his meridians are covered with cracks of various sizes. His skin was covered in fine cracks, and small black blood droplets emerged from it. In no time, Li Ningye became a bloody person. At this moment, the black text on his forehead appeared, flashing with black light. The corpse energy seemed to have found an outlet to vent, and a swarm of bees rushed towards his forehead. Ding! I only heard a crisp sound from Li Ning's eyebrows at night, and the corpse scripture stepped into the second level. Li Ningye slowly panted heavily, then got up and sat against the wall. After a while, he calmed down and checked the changes in his body. He closed his eyes and immersed his mind in the center of his eyebrows. Slowly, he could feel a gray ball gently spinning around the center of his eyebrows. Inside the small ball, a drop of liquid was constantly flowing. He separated a strand of liquid and saw it immediately turn into a thick corpse gas. Is the quality higher? Without much time to think, he felt this corpse aura becoming more agile as if it had grown tentacles. He took a gentle peek at his body and could see the meridians and blood beneath his skin. The spiritual consciousness of a cultivator. Does the second level of corpse chi have the characteristic of divine consciousness? He thought for a moment and poked this trace of corpse aura towards the outside of the cave. The place where the corpse aura passed through appeared in his mind as if he had personally walked through it. It wasn't until 100 meters away that it suddenly dissipated, and then he felt the wisp of corpse energy returning to his body. It is indeed divine consciousness. Seemingly a long time ago, it actually happened in the blink of an eye, while at the same time, a secret technique emerged in Li Ningye's mind. One secret move. Ancient cultivation techniques. One force can lift mountains, one force can shake the sea, and one force can lift the sky. Li Ning was pleasantly surprised at night, and at first glance, the beginning of this secret technique was not simple. It is rumored that ancient cultivators were powerful cultivators, among whom the top leaders could join hands to chase the sea, and their physical bodies were comparable to great demons, capable of breaking 10,000 laws with one force. Ili is very different from the previous Xing. There are three major realms of mountain pulling, namely mountain pulling, shaking the sea, and lifting the sky. A situation is even more difficult than another. To pull out a mountain, one only needs to polish one's physical body, while to shake the sea and lift the sky requires a coincidence of chance. The permanent increase in strength of the mountain is 3 times, the permanent increase in strength of the sea is 6 times, and the lifting of the sky has reached a terrifying 9 times. 3 months have passed in a blink of an eye, and Li Ningye suddenly stood up, stretched his waist, and his whole body made a crackling sound. He feels like he can blast a mountain with just one punch now. It's time to go back. He had just entered the realm of pulling mountains, and his strength had doubled because he was originally a zombie body and his body was a strong point. However, the time was too short and he had to rush back to the mountain gate, so he could only practice slightly in this area. After a moment, the cave collapsed with a loud roar, and Li Ningye rode towards the mountain gate with a hum. 5 Gate, Corpse Peak. Standing respectfully in front of a black-robed man, one person and one corpse said something. Uncle Wang, that's the situation. It was Luo Lin and Li Ningye who had already come up with an excuse to come back on the way. The content has been slightly edited, except for zombies and blood spirit pills, the rest of the content has been reported to Uncle Wang of Wudingtang without any changes. Number 34, it's these damn mice again. Number 34, okay, you kid, have you killed all the people in the soul prison? What reward do you want to redeem, kid? Senior uncle, I want to exchange for the corpse of a layer of demon beasts that awaken the pulse. Although Wang Shishu was a bit surprised after listening, he didn't think much and handed Luo Lin a storage bag. Previously, the items in Sun Lin and his companion's storage bags were also inside. Except for the items from the soul prison, everything else belongs to you. After speaking, he turned his head and left. If it weren't for the appearance of the soul prison person, Luo Lin would have been able to fulfill the beast corpse in the awakening realm at most. Previously, Luo Lin devoured senior son's blood and food, leaping to the 8th level of chi refining, and this beast corpse was enough for him to advance to the Purple Mansion realm. After seeing Guan, the two of them breathed a sigh of relief. Kill and set fire to the golden belt, I have money. This mission alone obtained over 500 spirit stones and about 10 pieces of blood mist tea from Sun Lin and his 2 companions. As for the little life-extending pill, there was none at all. It is estimated that Lin Song deceived Sun Senior Brother and successfully refined the blood spirit pill. Sun Senior Brother is also unlikely to escape death. Go buy some materials needed for the corpse refining technique. Main Peak, Wanbao Branch Building. The two of them appeared at the entrance of Wanbao Building. It is said that the cultivators inside this Wanbao Tower are not for cultivation, but only for spiritual stones. Their influence is spread throughout the entire cultivation world, and there are branches inside each gate. Number 34, ha, brother, you look very familiar. Do you want to go inside and take a look? My name is Yin Qianliang, and I am the steward of the Wanbao branch of the 5 Yin Gate. All the brothers inside the gate call me Yin Fatty. A burst of hearty laughter came, and a big fat man appeared at the entrance of the building, wearing a purple and gold fur coat, wearing a felt hat made of unknown hair, constantly playing with a piece of jade in his hand. Seeing this person's appearance and demeanor, it seems that he doesn't look like a cultivator, but rather like a merchant in the martial arts world. Everyone knows that as long as there is a spirit stone, my Wanbao building sells everything. Even if this sub-building doesn't have it, I can still transfer goods from the main building. The silver chubby man squinted his eyes and casually glanced at the green stiff behind Luo Lin, his smile even brighter. He is well aware that the disciples of the other peaks of the 5 Yin sect are very different from those of the Corpse Peak. The disciples of the other peaks can determine their general level based on their cultivation, while the Corpse Peak disciples are determined by their destiny and corpses. Luolin's mind twitched and he immediately knew that the owner had let him in. He nodded at the silver chubby man and the others entered the building in front and behind. I have a wide range of martial arts and magical tools in my Wanbao Tower. The first and second floors are for refining qi, and after the third floor is the trading place for the Purple Mansion realm. Brother, since your corpse is a green zombie, you probably won't even notice the things on the first and second floors. Let's go up to the third floor. The silver chubby man led a few people up the third floor while speaking. I saw a big difference between the third floor and the first floor. The entire third floor was divided into many secret rooms, each with a blocking formation. Chapter 10. Not extinguishing corpse fire. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In one of the secret rooms on the third floor, Luo Lin and Yin Pengzi sat opposite each other, while Li Ningye stood behind Luo Lin. I don't know what brother wants this time. I want to see attack spells or evasion spells, and I also want to buy a flying spell. Before Li Ningye arrived, he had already thought about it. Through this battle with Sun Lin and the others, he found that his fighting methods were too single, relying solely on nail fighting, and he did not have a life-saving skill. Everything else is fine, but the mobile magic tools are a bit expensive. Immediately, the chubby silver man waved his hand, and a jade slip and a delicate boat-shaped magical tool appeared on the table. Their eyes were instantly drawn to the small boat. The silver chubby man smiled knowingly and then began to proudly introduce himself. Brother, these are all the spells in our branch, you can take a look. And this small boat is the treasure of our sub-buildings. This boat is called the Little Yellow Spring Boat. It is an imitation of the Yellow Spring Divine Boat. It is refined from green and stiff bones, with some stiff bones essence added. This boat is incredibly sturdy, not only able to withstand a single blow from the Purple Mansion, but also moving at an astonishing speed, making it an absolute top-notch flying magic weapon. Selling price: only 1,000 spirit stones. Li Ningye secretly signaled to Luo Lin in his heart, and Luo Lin instantly understood. Number 34, is there any flaw in this flying boat being so cheap? Number 34, yes, they are brothers. We, the children and elderly of Wanbao Tower, are all honest. This flying boat has a small flaw. It consumes more mana than ordinary magical tools, about 30% more. If it weren't for this flaw, this ark wouldn't have sold only 1,000 spirit stones. Yin Pengzi looked at Luo Lin and quickly said, from a few simple words, he knew that Luo Lin was not just a novice. Number 34, let's take a look again. Number 34, Luo Lin began to pretend and pick up the jade slip, seriously examining the techniques inside. Li Ningye carefully manipulated a hint of corpse aura to probe into the jade slip and flipped through it. The silver chubby man looked at Luo Lin quietly with a polite smile, his eyes wandering. He didn't know what he was thinking, nor did he notice the hint of corpse energy in Li Ningye. The secret room fell into a eerie silence. 15 minutes later, Li Ningye seemed to have made some decision, and the trace of corpse energy returned to her body. At the same time, Luo Lin put down the jade slip. And the silver chubby man's eyes froze when he saw Rolling's movements. 100 Ghost Fist. Blood Shadow Escape. Silver Tower Master, I will take these 2 martial arts and little yellow spring boat. I don't know how much spirit stone can this blood mist tea resist. Luo Lin took out a jade box, which contained about 10 pieces of tea leaves. On the way here, the two of them had already inquired about the market price of blood mist tea, so they were not afraid of not having enough spirit stones. Blood mist spirit tea. Of course you can. A piece of blood mist tea can hold up to 55 spirit stones, so I'll consider you 670 spirit stones in this box. Because the 2 martial arts are low-level techniques, I'll consider you 100 spirit stones. The silver chubby man was secretly surprised in his heart, but still wore a polite smile on his face. It should be noted that cultivators in the realm of Luo Lin only have around 100 spiritual stones on their bodies, aside from what they usually use for cultivation. Spending a single spiritual stone can be excruciating, while people like Luo Lin who consume thousands of spiritual stones without blinking their eyes are not common. He didn't know that these 2 people were so wealthy because they had killed senior brother Sunday. Senior son has been in the Purple Mansion for many years and also manages the blood mist tea from Huchi Fortress. In addition to paying tribute to the sect every year, his annual surplus is also very considerable. If it weren't for refining the blood spirit pill, he would probably have more spirit stones on his body. Line. I still need some materials for the corpse refining technique. Luo Lin took out a jade slip and handed it to the silver fatty. These are very simple. They are all beginner materials for corpse refining, but the amount is relatively large. I'll consider you 150 spirit stones. Luo Lin threw out a bag of spirit stones, and the silver chubby man glanced vaguely before putting it away. He then handed Luo Lin a storage bag, which contained all the things he had bought. In no time, the 2 quickly left the building, while the chubby silver stood at the entrance watching their figures disappear at the end of the market. A few hours later, Shifeng, inside the Luo Lin cave. Li Ning sat cross-legged at night, holding a jade slip with her eyes closed, her mind immersed in it, while Luo Lin took out the flesh and blood of the monster and began to devour it. Both of them have entered cultivation. There is no time in the mountains, 10 months have passed in a blink of an eye. I saw a snow-white cocoon standing in the center of the cave, and a figure standing not far from the cocoon. Suddenly, the figure bent down and crouched down, then suddenly bounced up, his fists trembling slightly, and a burst of air flow appeared out of nowhere in the cave. Woo 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 woo. The airflow made a strange sound, like a fierce ghost whispering in your ear. At this moment, his 2 arms began to stir in the airflow, and the stirred airflow turned into countless ghostly shadows twisting and changing on his arms. Drink. A loud roar came from the air, accompanied by a gust of wind, and the body shot out like an arrow. Bang bang. In an instant, ghosts and shadows danced in the sky, and the formation trembled like water waves. In no time, the ghosts and shadows disappeared from the sky, revealing their figures. It's Li Ningye. The 100 Ghost Fist has finally become a small success. During this period, Li Ningye has been immersed in the cultivation of Blood Shadow Escape and 100 Ghost Fist. Blood Shadow Escape is a kind of escape technique, usually just an extremely mysterious body technique. Its characteristic is the perfect fusion of speed and shadow, making the performer's body shape as elusive as a ghost. However, the true power of blood shadow escape is not limited to this. The biggest feature of this evasion technique is that it can consume the practitioner's own essence and blood at critical moments in exchange for the ultimate speed in an instant. When the performers activate their essence and blood, their bodies will turn into a stream of blood light, quickly escaping at an unimaginable speed, away from the battlefield or danger. And the first stage of the corpse refining technique was also completed, and he found that the combination of corpse refining technique and its power had a magical effect. The polishing of the flesh became faster, and his mountain pulling was also greatly improved, with a threefold increase in strength. Click. At this moment, the white cocoon in the center of the cave opened a crack, and then the crack grew larger and larger. Boom! The cocoon exploded with a loud bang, revealing the figure sitting cross-legged inside. It was Luo Lin who saw his skin becoming increasingly pale and his body's freckles seemed to have decreased. A flame-shaped mark appeared at the center of his eyebrows. In the past 10 months, Luo Lin's cultivation has not declined either. He has devoured the corpse of the monster, and his cultivation has progressed from the 8th level of Qi refining to the Purple Mansion realm, initiating evolution. I saw a flash in his eyebrows, and a flame appeared out of thin air. Li Ningye walked over and looked at the flame in surprise. Perhaps it was because of a zombie, the color of the flame was actually gray. He tried to touch it with his hand through the air, but did not feel any warmth, instead it was very cold. Master. After my evolution was completed, this flame was born inside me, and the spiritual power inside me was also transformed into fire spiritual power. I call this flame, Immortal Corpse Fire. Once this fire is unleashed, it will not burn the enemy to ashes and will not go out. Of course, it only attaches to the enemy and won't extinguish. If the realm is too high, whether it can burn or not is another matter. While the two were still immersed in the supernatural wonder of the Immortal Corpse Fire, a wave of waves came from the formation outside the cave. Luolin's mind moved and a jade slip flew in, which was the transmission jade slip of his senior brother Su Jiang. Hurry up to the main hall of Shifeng. Without much time to think, the two immediately opened the formation and walked out of the cave.